now by 10.4 points. I think Lennon, FIFA, and Symphony are going to be able to make a play for it. Do I think that Crinks will be able to maintain a good chunk of it? I really do, and we're gonna kick off map number 4 with a little bit of their POV.
Yeah, and I think it's fun to look back at this. You said it earlier about the Verdansk almost play styles. Landing on scavenger contracts is such a Verdansk move. Like, we really haven't seen that as a primary strategy, especially in customs, in a really long time because, well, they haven't been in the game partially, and now that they're in the game, they're much more accessible here with Urzikstan. So a fun way to start, a fun way to kind of think back on the nostalgia and also look forward to the new age of Warzone here with Urzikstan as we're on board with the team at the top, and it looks like a couple other teams nearby landing. Aydan able to pick up a gun and pick up one immediately, flying at the action. See if he can grab the victory here.
Fucking shitters, fuck out of here. Fucking own your shit, pussies. Yeah, fighting by the crown. Wait, they're fighting.
Sorry, I just wanted to let those comms fly because they were pretty passionate, and I love that for Aydan, Adrian, and Clarynx. So as they keep barricading forward, picking up some more eliminations that are beautifully done for them. I mean, I told you earlier, we sat down with Rated, we sat down with Hate Adrian and Aydan at the World Series of Warzone. We had a really, really great interview from them. We saw a lot of talent behind the scenes of Aydan in general, but for Z Smith, Tommy, and Mizu right now running into a lot of issues early on. Can we see this connect? Z Smith, that health will regen for him back to that base health of 150, but just a little under 2 shields. Still so many nades flying through, a stun up and out the window. We lose out on Mizu, we lose out on Z Smith, and this is a tough start for this trio.
It's also a tough team to fight immediately. Z Smith and Aydan have a ton of former chemistry. They used to run 2v2s together way back in the day, Caldera and otherwise. And you're pushing Aydan, the team at the top, with a ton of chemistry off the rip. It's a tough fight to take this early in the lobby, and it doesn't pay off. Now, if you can win gulags and restabilize, fantastic. But you've given the team at the top a full team wipe within the first 45 seconds of the game. A tough one to start with. And as we tune in to one of our other teams that was near the top and had a tough last map, Kaylee in a bit of trouble near top of these buildings, playing a little bit of a slower game here, but still clearing the skies and finding a couple enemies around the corner. It's just a matter of how do you take the fight.
Hey, right here. No, there's a team.
That's my teammate for shooting out those counter UAVs. I swear to God, some people throw them up and they never shoot them, but this is the issue with the snipers, and unfortunately no self-reses have been gathered thus far, still quite early on. Dongi able to push out, grab that to Brolic, but the angle, because they did not have ultimate high ground, will be lost out. Kaylee will head to the gulag, but for QLC, Clutch Belk and Slacked, already finding some early game. We got that bounty up, and QLC, the captain, will hit that team wipe. Very nicely done. Hey, you know, every time we tune into their POV goes, that one chatter on Call of Duty Twitch chat was correct. This POV has been an absolute banger.
Yeah, they've been doing well when we've tuned in. It doesn't look, yeah, they're in 10th place right now, so not having a bad tournament thus far, especially when you consider we still have 9 more games to play. You've got a lot of room to continue to work. I think if you're top 10 going into day 2, you're going to be feeling pretty comfortable with yourself. You're top 3rd, and you can continue to make moves going into 6 more maps tomorrow. So that's kind of the goal, I think, for a lot of these teams. Be top 10, be top 5 going into the second half of the tourney, and we'll be feeling really solid, and that team's certainly poised and able to do that, sitting in 10th right now and having a nice little start. You know, it's funny, I wanted to shout this out, Tiff. You shouted out Symphony's squad, right, with FIFA and Lennon. Symphony has not won a single dollar in Warzone since Verdansk.
Oh,
he didn't play. Like, he didn't play competitively in Al Mazrah, didn't really play competitively in Caldera at all, and is back playing competitively again, and is yet to win any dollars and cash in Urzikstan. But this is an opportunity to do it, and we know he'll walk away with at least something for playing in the tournament, albeit it might just be 200 as a team if they get, you know, bottom 4, but an opportunity for a ton of cash, and this is quite literally the first time Symphony has won money since Verdansk.
You're actually not wrong. Every time I tune into Symphony's stream in the morning, because I kind of am more active on Twitch in the morning, it's Symphony, it's Maven, it's Merc, it's the Content God Squad, and I just really enjoy watching those 3 get crazy. Not always, but a good chunk of the time. So with FIFA full dead and Lennon in the gulag now, Symphony reigns supreme, looking for some cash to be able to get that squad back into the mix of things. Lennon picking up some cash in the gulag and wins it. That's well needed there.
Yeah, this is those stabilization points. You don't often see these on broadcast. I love that we got to pop into their POVs here for a second when they're just trying to stabilize, because this is Warzone competition at its core, right? Things don't go your way at the very beginning of the game. You have to loot out. You have to go to some of these locations that maybe you're not accustomed to going to, some of these edge cases and customs where there's not a lot of teams, the edge of the map, and you loot up the buildings until you get enough cash. You buy your teammate back, you then get them their guns, and then you go readdress those fights. And it's kind of this push and pull throughout the course of the map of when can we take gunfights and when should we be looting and running away from gunfights. That's the nature of customs. Fun to take a look at, but let's get back into the action. It looks like Wars has spotted a team on the edge of zone, and they're going to fly out here, hopefully grab a couple kills, and then move on a little bit deeper into the zone.
Yo, Wars is using the SVA. And now I need to check this loadout because I didn't really like the SVA when I was kind of grinding my camos, and I haven't necessarily tried it out in Warzone thus far. But I mean, at this point, it's Wars. Gunny's gonna be on point. I know that mobile buy station and a self-res to boot, and I'm sure it'll be just fine for them. But the Bass B build that we've seen a lot for the sniper support has been pretty interesting looking. So I'm loving that we've just got a multitude of weapons that are pretty viable, especially now that the Akimbo snake shot got reworked insanely quick, and, well, anything Akimbo is banned here today.
I think they crossed the
Yeah, there's several weapons to choose from, certainly. There's definitely some of the top tier weapons. I think our LMG is no question one of the best kind of mid-long range weapons you can use, and then having a sniper per team. Swarm, definitely primary SMG, but we've seen some MZTs post-nerf, and SVA. Wars is known for dropping a ton of builds on the timeline, so who knows, maybe he's cooking.
I know, I kind of dabble. Usually I steal like Breadmans or Huskerrs as a former, you know, I like to support the M&K builds.
Sure,
It just makes
sure.
sense for me. So if an M&K user is using an XYZ build, I'm probably gonna try that one out first.
Well, Munibox is going to be key, especially for smokes. Frag grenade's incredibly strong right now as well. Looks like they spotted somebody, but we're going to head back over to serve with Noobs and Almond. They're still top 5. Almond getting shot in the back apparently and in trouble. Noobs is going to push the equation. Potentially grab an elimination here on the buy station. As they grabbed a quick buyback, they're probably happy with that. Not too worried about losing their life, and that's exactly what happens. Almond picks it up. That is empathy on the other side there, Tiff.
About engagement thus far. After that 2-point game in map number 3, it's time to turn our tides to back on getting up that leaderboard. We want to set ourselves up for success towards the end of day 1 to get a large chunk of that money in map number 2, but at least the comms are flowing and they're talking about hitting that rotate right now. We've got to get across this water. And these horizontal zip lines that they've added into Urzikstan, well, a little dancey dance there from Almond. Across the way, gotta do it in style.
I love the horizontal zips. Like, oftentimes you might get shot at while you're going across them, but it just makes everything faster. And with the pace of the zones, we've already talked about this, the total length of the game being so much faster, being able to use those zips to get around the map quicker is a huge boon, whether it's on rooftops or over water. But XLC and team pushing the equation. They need a big one here again. They're just barely inside the top 10, and so far so good. The comms are flying from IGL. Clutch Belk, Slacked, XLC, all moving together as a unit. Got a couple UAVs they could utilize here on edge of zone as they're into power, and, well, that's a freebie if I've ever seen one.
They're trying to cut us off here.
I'm lurking behind.
Ooh, peppered shots, but they're gonna navigate just towards the inside. Let me just tell you, I've pack-a-punched my weapon a ton right here. Like, one of these days I'll finish that camo grind, but this area is really cool and interesting to navigate. A lot of areas to take high ground, a lot of cubbies that you can kind of peruse yourself into, but for Slacked to be able to make this happen. Call for comms, I'm gonna give it to him.
Dude, take your time.
Information is so key here. They've got the UAVs. Which is huge to utilize, especially if they're going to play split.
On the roof, I think.
Yeah, there's two of them.
Fuck, can you...
Here's some comments from XLC saying there's 2 above.
Roof a little weak.
This is such a tough fight here, Tiff, and I think this is a smart play from Slack to back up. Just little to no way he rips that person off the heady there.
On the crane or what? No.
Go, Stress, grab that, CB.
Good shit, bro. Someone just
Tough engagements there, but for Symphony, Lennon, and FIFA, we do have all three of them back into the lobby. That Rez coming in on towards Symphony, and they have at least 3 eliminations thus far for Lennon. I said this was going to be a really good game. They've got the stronghold completed. They have a nearby UAV, and now they've got a good chunk of cash trying to get that loot back up with another one of... But it's not really bad. They're sitting pretty viable here. And as I look towards that leaderboard of kind of where they've been setting themselves up, 49.3 points, like 13, 14 or so outside of the lead, which is really not bad. It's just one good game.
Yeah, they're doing fantastic. Not a kill to Symphony's name yet, but working together as a unit, they've got a ton of resources. And yeah, I think they've kind of parked Symphony out into one of these buildings with several different angles he can potentially snipe from. This is kind of a fairly standard strategy for your one sniper to be parked inside of a building that has quite a bit of cover, looking just for picks to kind of open up this lane for your other duo to push the encounter. But nothing spotted yet, and they don't really get the zone pull. And probably want to head up this hillside fairly quickly. Tiff, I don't think they want to hang out here too much longer. Get to the top of this hill so they continue to have high ground and scope out the competition, see if anybody else trying to hold them.
Far left, where they're gonna push.
I know, just to go water, I'm just dead though.
Yeah, this is really tough when you're last standing. You have the cash to be able to get someone back. One member looks like they're still vying for a gulag, but Soka, Shifty, Vonbot, all 3 up. Doing quite well, able to grab some weapons there from the buy station. 4 eliminations alone for Soka. Just on the outskirts, taking to the near high ground of that roof, but as we pull towards that north kind of central side of the map, a pretty good pool, but a lot of issues here once we get towards the center. You've got these rocks, you've got open grounds between these buildings. It's a little more separated. Not as sparse as kind of the edge of Urzikstan, as I would say, but still going to run into some issues if you're not equipped with a lot of your smokes to be able to push the issue.
Yeah, and I'm getting worried by the way that Serve and Almond and Noobs did get wiped off screen in about 25th place in this lobby. So a team that was really dominating the very beginning of this tournament is definitely going to be dropping out of the top 5 and potentially all the way down to somewhere around 10th place or so, if not even further, depending on how the rest of the leaderboard shakes out. But just as a quick update, leaderboard is never set in stone. Anything can happen, and it's exactly what's happened for the likes of Serve. We'll see who else inside the top 5 gets knocked out early. If we've got any other comms from production, we'll let you know. But a great shout, something to keep an eye out for.
Do we want to keep this balloon here or shoot it out?
Keep it. We're probably gonna use that.
I like that. They want to keep the balloon. That's a big deal, right? So you'll see a lot of people in competitive, especially back onto Al Mazrah, constantly shooting things out. But Symphony, we just need to land the shots. But I mean, granted, as soon as you pull that shoot and just dive straight down, it is a very tough shot to hit. But cutting back on over to Kaylee, your map 2 winners had a lackluster game in map number 3, but what's cool about this is with 12 drops total counting across 2 days, you can let one go and still get back into the action by just answering back the following game.
Gulag closing now, so a little bit less room for error. If you haven't been to the Gulag already, don't need to go there any longer.
How do you get up?
Decent little game going here for Scumman and Kaylee. I think Scumman here on 4 eliminations. The team likely on 6 or so. Not a bad spot to be in going into what would be the latter half of the mid game as Gulag closes. So they're going to try to grab high ground here. I think the kind of frustration right now is definitely the snipers. And so don't want to get picked off. And if you do get picked off, don't want to get finished off. So if you have high ground position, and even if you do get knocked, unless they've got a PA, oftentimes you can get to cover and get rezzed. And as Gulag closes, Scumman is maybe getting a bit more aggressive as the team is pushing.
Yeah, I saw God.
Okay, there's someone on this roof to the left of the buy.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Trying to position themselves quite nicely. Scumman takes some shots, but also gets answered back, a little bit punished for that. but does dismiss themselves quite nicely, joining back up with the squad. I love their position. If we constantly toggle over to Kaylee, Scummin, and Dongy, they're in these buildings, not necessarily on the rooftop where they're exposed to snipers, not on the bottom floor where they run the risk of a team walking in on them. They will position themselves on a second or third floor in between multiple windows where they can keep anchoring and looking out on where teams are positioning. Whether it's in the dead center of zone, we've seen that happen as well, but also just on the inside where teams will be looking to rotate in. And from there, if they've been able to find eliminations, they can typically make it towards that end game, and they look to do so now into that 1.2x multiplier.
They spotted a couple teams around them, but not an angle to grab an elimination.
Right, there's another guy smoking the back side of that.
He might jump the wall. I'm staring at it.
Jump it. Do
Yeah,
it.
he's caught a couple teams on the edge of the wall. It's a great spot. I think they can hold out for a little while and just be patient. This is kind of what I was getting a little bit, not angry, but ribbing them for, as now we're in trouble heading back over to Nano, was getting eliminations and not camping out too early. But they've got 6 or 7. They've got enough to play slow. Whereas on the other side of the coin, the teams that are rotating in late are always getting picked up. They're losing a player left, right, and center every single time you're coming in this late. We still have 12 trios alive. Top 8 get the 1.3x multiplier, and they're getting caught in rotation. They've lost 1, and it looks like maybe there's still somebody behind them also late rotating.
Gonna be quick, tough, and this is the kind of that open area that I was telling you about, but for Horrid trying to hit that balloon and redeploy, not necessarily gonna go through. Soka does get that team wipe, but unfortunately, a little bit of a duo action. Oh, here we go. Good live pings, finding some nice information between Soka and Co. How will they push this issue? 24 seconds remain, but they've got to move forward. And they are on that low ground. The nade does connect. He gets a knock onto 2. That opens the door. They push forward, smoke to cause the issue, to make sure they're fully plated. And here Soka goes. Just a textbook performance here.
The fact that both of those grenades connected and got a knock, and you heard Ahsoka just start screaming, go, 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 we've got it, go. I've got 2 knocks. A massive knock to open up that pathway. And this is what I was talking about with the snipers, and I guess can also be assumed via grenades. Like, picking up a knock like that is the signal flare to fly at your opponents as fast as possible. And Ahsoka's able to grab a ton of loot, a massive boon for that trio. They're now in a position to potentially make a play for the top 5 here. Top 8, 1.3x multiplier, and of course winning a 1.5x. And we're back with Symphony, Lennon, FIFA Kill, all 3 up, playing high ground on top of the hill, but not a ton of cover to work with as they rotate to the next zone. We'll see if they can make it to some cover.
Lennon does have 2 smokes and some nades as well, so good on them, able to grab a knock and a full on to Aydan. So you got to keep an eye out for Adrian and Krinks, your winners of map number 3, with a massive game. But if they take them out here, it will deny them any capability into that 1.3x multiplier. But they have to fight forward, and going against that rooftop, they're actually turning their tides onto Dongy, while FIFA is fighting over there with Adrian.
Huge pickups across the board. Lennon finds Dongy and cleans him up with a long-distance grenade. They've picked up Adrian. They've got a couple more team wipes. They are just carving up. They're brute forcing their way into this zone. What could be called a slightly late rotation, somewhat unavoidable because of the zone pull. They're making it work. All 3 still alive, and they're still picking up eliminations. This is incredible, and this is not the first time they've done this. They made it to top 5 last time and then went down. With all 3 up, playing this edge of zone, there's likely one team already in the 1 remaining building in the next circle, but otherwise, they're looking really, really good.
Now into the final 5. Sights are set, smokes to follow. See how they approach this. Can we grab a knock? The high alert is going to trigger. There is someone towards the left of Symphony, but have no fear. We have to communicate here and know that someone is watching your back. We tune into Skullface, the solo YOLO demon. He's going to be the one lurking in the rocks, but will fall and go out in 3rd place. We have our final 2 squads remaining, and that means Super Evan, Braxton, and DJ Moss, who have been so incredibly consistent, but lackluster in the form of, we're not really seeing them a lot on the broadcast, so we don't get to see their action, taking on Symphony and Lennon and Co. So this is going to be a massive 3v3.
Yeah, that was Skullface they just knocked, by the way. They took Skullface out of the game. It is a 3v3, and it looks like FIFA Kill maybe was able to pick up a knock and elimination on one of Super Evan's trios because it's a 3v2 now. According to the UI, but no, 2 go down. Super Evan finds an angle. Super Evan from underneath potentially grabs at least 1, if not 2. A double knock, double elimination. It's going to be a 1v2. It's Super Evan down below, making massive plays to try to secure a victory in second place going into this map. A 5-head decision pushes the advantage to Super Evan and DJ Moss in a 2v1. They've got low ground, but they've got zone. They can just hang out and wait and grab the elimination as a duo.
Yo, that was sick. I'm not gonna lie, the bouncing Betty to try and deal some damage so you can turn the tides onto that 1v2, but it is not enough. DJ Moss and Super Evan, they take map number 4.
Unreal victory. Well done by the duo. Able to grab the wall bang, able to grab the victory. Second place going into this lobby, and now definitely going to be at the top, depending on how Crinks was able to do. 18 elimination victory. That's a huge, massive victory. 20